Is the 2026 cycle the most important one in U.S. men's national team history? Well, today I have brought in Hercules Gomez to discuss. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to another episode. Welcome to the channel. This will be segment 1 of the 2-episode series we're doing here with Herc Gomez for the 2026 cycle. This is more of a broad view of this cycle focused on the 2026 World Cup. The second segment will mainly focus on 2024, the Copa America and the Olympics, and we will be releasing it later this week. Now, before we start, don't forget to smash the like button just because I asked you for literally no other reason, and because I won't be requesting it when Herc is here. Thank you for smashing the like button. Let's play the intro and let's bring Herc Gomez. Okay, Herc, you made it back from Qatar here. You had a great time. Well, you worked a lot there. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the United States. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy New Year. Can you still say Happy New Year? I don't know what's kosher, like when the cutoff is, but it's the first time that I'm seeing you again on the channel, so I will say Happy New Year.
Is it a Happy New Year for U.S. men's national team?
It's a Happy New Year for me. Is it a Happy New Year for you in your Mexico track jacket?
Palmeiras, the greatest club in the Americas.
Wow.
The number one club in the Americas. I don't think there's anyone that can even question me on that. Even Liga MX fans, River Plate, Boca, I don't want to hear it. But look, what I want to talk about with you is the 2026 cycle is off to a bumpy start. I want to cut you off because I don't want you to talk about it because you're going to bring up Tigres probably, and I don't want to hear that.
Well, no, I forgot about Tigres. I was gonna start talking. Wow, it's fine. You proceed.
Let's go back to U.S. men's national team. We're entering the 2026 cycle. It's been weird the past few years. The 2018 cycle, we missed the World Cup. 2022, there was major success on it overall, but there was also major problems on it. And we start this cycle with a lot of problems, right? Which maybe we'll talk about it, maybe not. But I want to ask you one thing. Is this the most important cycle in U.S., not U.S. soccer, but U.S. men's national team history up to date?
No. 1994, that cycle was the most important because of everything that came with it. There was a domestic league that came with it. There was a sense of professionalism that came with it, and everything that followed. It really was a watershed moment for not only the U.S. men's national, but U.S. soccer. Hosting a World Cup, the lead up to it, the start of a domestic league because of it. For all those reasons, I will say 1994. But in terms of a realistic possibility of actually winning the World Cup, now I'm not saying it can be done, but having probabilities of actually winning the World Cup, 2026. You've got more players now than ever before in prominent first team setups who are at a very young age with already one World Cup experience. For a vast majority will be under their belt, and even younger players who are entering these setups or will enter these setups who could be factors leading into 2026 in your home country. In a setup where, yes, it's Mexico, Canada as well, but the US will play every single game, let's say they make it to the final, on US soil. So the opportunity you have at hand with an expanded field is an opportunity where, one, the standard should be to get to quarterfinals, and depending on the draw, if you make a semifinal. That to me is insane. That to me is a golden opportunity. So while I understand the question you are setting up, because it is a very important cycle, and for various reasons in terms of how they prepare for it, because there is no World Cup qualifiers. So you're pretty much playing friendlies, which with whomever you can get friendlies with. Let's not forget there's still UEFA Nations League, there's still CONCACAF Nations League, there's still whatever other tournament they'd like to throw in front for these national teams from now until then. and these club requirements. So while it is still a very, very important cycle, it's probably not the most important cycle to date because of the 1994 and everything that came with it.
So let me play a little devil's advocate here. So I understand what you're saying. I agree that 1994 is, well, we can probably say it got everything we're living now. That's where it started.
Yeah,
right?
it's like it's the before and after. It's the watershed moment. That's the parting of the waters right there for U.S. soccer.
And like everything
Men's
in life, when you start a company, starting it is maybe the toughest thing possible. Starting it, getting it going. And then you got that company going and it's making good money. And you want to take that next step. Maybe make your company go to the stock market, right? Blow up, become a multi-billion-dollar company. I would argue this cycle could be that turning point. I'm not going to say soccer is going to become a top 3 sport in this country, not that. But I think that, like you said, 1994 was key for us to be where we are now. But I also agree with you that the team from 1994 could not do the damage that this team could potentially do. The damage, I mean, like a quarterfinal, semifinal.
Not even close, if you think about it. That 1994 team, a lot of those players within 2 years got like 50-something appearances on the national team. They were like a traveling club team, if you will. And I say that with all due respect. A lot of these guys I know very well from having played with a few of them, from having been in some way, shape, or form coached, mentored, or under their umbrella as sporting directors or club presidents. That group of players is different to what this group of players and their ceiling is. So that's where it's important. I will say I'm very weary of when we throw these goal line measuring sticks or these, little carrots in front or these banners, if you will. You're looking at a proud member of Project 2010. You ever heard of that?
Tell me more about it.
Project 2010. So you certainly have heard about the U20 World Cup with Landon Donovan, DeMarcus Beasley, Guchan Weyu, Kyle Beckerman, where they made it to the semifinals. I think it was 4th place.
But that was early 2000s, right?
Yeah, Landon got the golden ball. DeMarcus got the silver ball. That's the 1982 generation. I'm 1982. I wasn't even on the radar back then. I didn't play any youth national team games. But that first generation of players was the first generation of players that was in a professional setup. The IMG Bradenton Academy. They lived, played, trained soccer every single day. That was their job. At least part-time. Some of those kids went to high school afterwards. Some of those kids did other things. But that was it. And that project was the U.S. men's national team will be World Cup champions by 2010. Okay? 2010 was South Africa with Bob Bradley. Great team. Mm-hmm. Great collection of players.
Topped our group.
Two of the best players in U.S. men's national history all time. One of the best, if not the best, goalkeeper in U.S. men's national team history of all time. Carlos Bocanegra was like 120. I think it was like 120 caps. He ended up with something like that. Steve Cherundolo, Michael Bradley, who ended up being one of the better players in his position in U.S. men's national history. Very interesting players in that group, and we made it to the second round. Okay. So you have to be careful because especially when it comes to the World Cup, and you know how difficult it is. I mean, how talented is Brazil? Every single World Cup cycle, it's Brazil, it's Brazil, it's Brazil. When's the last time Brazil's won a World Cup?
2002 was the first World Cup I really followed as a kid. 2002.
And they are the bar, the standard in world football. Pentacampeón. That's how difficult it is. A country that ships hundreds of players every World Cup cycle, exports them all around the world, hasn't gotten close in almost over 20 years. So what I'm trying to say, it's so difficult. And there's a reason only 8 countries have done it. So we've got to be wary when we talk about expectations with this group, with the U.S. in general.
Yeah, and also adding to that, I think anyone that played soccer or football in a competitive level, by competitive, I don't even mean professional. I mean, if you played for a competitive travel, if you played academy, if you played in college, and obviously professional, anyone knows how this sport works. right? There's a term in Brazil saying a bola pune. Bola means pelota, so ball. It just means that the ball punishes, and that's how soccer is. Anything can happen sometimes. When it's 90 minutes right there, you get a red card, an early goal. The teams have to deal with that. And that's the World Cup. It's right there. So you see teams like Morocco. Is Morocco a top 4 team in the world? They are not, but they made it to the semifinals and they earned it. It wasn't luck. It's just what happened, right? So, of course, we know that the United States could have a great team, could be well coached, and we could lose in the round of 16. It could totally happen. But I do think that in 2026, if we do something special, which I think semifinals is special, I do want to throw one thing to you, though, because I heard Greg Berhalter say yesterday that the goal is to reach the semifinals. I think when you put the goal to be to reach the semifinals, you're essentially saying, I'm going for the title. Because if you make it that far, you're already fighting for the title. As crazy as that sounds, if we do something special at home, I do think you can draw in a lot of casuals into becoming diehards to stay more loyal. And I think U.S. soccer is that turning point.
Filippo, you're right. There is something to be said about with the amount of casual viewers who in some shape or form have grown up with football, with soccer in their lives. Now, it used to be like, oh, yeah. My dad put me in soccer. I did AYSO for like a year. I got a picture. That was it, right? Now it's like, no, man, I watched Manchester United growing up. I watched Club America or Chivas, or I watched Palmeiras, or I watched Millonarios in Colombia. Like, there is now a sense of that is part of your culture for these kids. Do you know what I mean? Whether you played at a high level or not, it was background noise for the majority of your upbringing. It was there. So you're used to it. So now, and we see the numbers anytime it's the U.S. in any type of international competition, if the team does well, the country will support you. They will back you, regardless if they know the sport or not. That is something that changed 1994, the sport in this country, and could take it to the next level, as you say, in 2026. But it depends on these players, and it's not going to be easy. I mean, expanded field, so you're going to get some games against easier competition? Probably, sure. But who knows how it will be, the group phase, and it could be one bad game, and you could be behind the 8 ball. Yeah. So you've got to be very careful. International competition is this way. A country like Germany, 8 years running, 2 cycles in a row, 2 World Cups in a row, so much talent, and doesn't get out of the group phase, you know?
Yeah, So we can end this segment because we're going to have a separate one too for a different episode that people can check out later. Let me change my question to you then.
Okay.
So leading right now, you're saying that the 1994 was the most important one so far. If we make it to a semifinals, would that change? And will you say this was the one, this change? Because the way I see it, and I'm going to give you a bit of my experience here with Brazilian Americans and Mexican Americans. I mean, I know you deal with a lot of Mexican Americans too, but during the World Cup, I was talking to a lot of them and not dealing with them. It was fun, but you know what I mean. And talking to them, some of them that were born here, they are a bit torn about the U.S. and their country. So they kind of want to go for both. But the narrative is always like, U.S. sucks, so I'm going for Mexico. U.S. sucks, I'm going for Brazil. When we tied England, a lot of the ones I talked about, they were like, whoa, it looks like we might not be that bad. We tied England. We're not that. But then we lost to the Dutch. They were like, oh, right. It was just a hiccup. Now what I'm seeing is, let's go to 2026. Let's say for the first time in history, we actually knock out some giant in the World Cup knockout stage. Not history, but modern history, right? We go there and we knock out, I don't know, Argentina, the Dutch, the French, Brazil. We knock one of those giants out. I do think these fans will change their perception, and they will, wait a second, because people like to root for winners. That's the truth. Love the country or not, when they're torn, there's this idea that Americans suck at soccer, which has changed a lot the past 20 years. We don't suck at soccer anymore. We don't. We're not a powerhouse, but we are a good team. We have good players. If we reach the semifinals, does that change and this does become the most important cycle? Do you think soccer blows up in this country? Or not blows up, but becomes much bigger than it is?
I think it all depends on how you get there. Now, let me explain. if you limp your way in and it just happens that you get there, you're going to draw a lot of interest. You're going to draw a lot of eyeballs, a lot of sponsorship dollars. You're going to have massive growth. Sure, that's great. But let's say you go on a ridiculous run. I'm talking about Morocco. Morocco played
Spain,
the runners-up in last World Cup.
yeah, Croatia.
In Croatia, okay? They played a golden generation in Belgium. They played the Spanish team was one of the World Cup favorites. From there, they played a Portuguese team with
Wait, no mention of the
Cristiano Ronaldo.
CONCACAF champions, Canada, the self-claimed CONCACAF champion. No mention of them.
The number one team in the CONCACAF World Cup cycle leading into it. Portugal with Cristiano Ronaldo, and then after that, it was
France
with Kylian Mbappe and Deschamps in that group. That's a run. Like that's a like I can't recall in World Cup history a team that's had a harder run to the final than Morocco. If you do something heroic like that, football in this country absolutely will change, because you will get not only the diehards, the casuals, the sponsors, the eyeballs. It could be a seminal moment in U.S. soccer history, but it all depends on these players, this team. Just remember something, man. People hardly remember moments, okay? They remember the way they felt in said moments. When people talk about Landon Donovan, it wasn't the greatest goal because it was a good goal, it was a rebound goal. It was the greatest goal because of the moment and how they made them feel. So you need more of those moments. You need those moments. That's what carries people in this country. Those moments that are just fans in general. Emotions. That's what's going to change.
Yeah. So hopefully, so essentially, it's up for grab. This could be then. So your overall take is it's not right now, but it could become the most important depending on what happens. I still believe it's probably the most important one. I think that's what it is. Now, just to wrap up this segment, one quick thing, because I think it's a topic we've all been talking about. I'm sure you're going to talk about it at Fútbol Americas, which if people are watching this, it's probably already back by the time everyone's watching this. My question is, we're off to a rough start of U.S. soccer this cycle. Drama that probably it most certainly wasn't needed. No one needed it. It does seem like even changing coaches, everything, we probably will need some time to heal this, the players involved, everything. Do you think this could be something? I know it's far and it might be a very stupid question what I'm asking, but do you think this could drag for a while, closer to 2026?
It's not a stupid question at all. For U.S. soccer, the U.S. men's national team, let me rephrase that. For the U.S. men's national team, it shouldn't drag. It shouldn't drag on, because there could be a decision made and carte blanche, and you start anew. And what I mean by that is Greg Berhalter is no longer the coach. There's a interim coach for the meantime, then a head coach until they figure out who that is, and you get going with whatever games you can play and however they decide to attack that. But this can linger till 2026 because it's an ugly situation. And when you talk about U.S. soccer, U.S. soccer has been involved in lawsuits that have been pending for years and years and years, and you've seen how that's been lingering. I'm not saying there's going to be a lawsuit here, but there potentially can be fallout from a lot of what's happened. So we're still going to be hearing about this, I think, for some time to come, here and there, maybe still leading up to 2026. But as far as the U.S. men's national team is concerned, this will only drag on as long as the Federation brass let it drag on.
Okay. We'll leave it on that. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching this segment. We have another segment here with Herc where we're going to talk about the Olympics, Copa America, and that's it. All right. Don't forget to drop a like and check out Fútbol Americas on ESPN+. Thank you very much.